Good morning, Year 3. Welcome to our writing lesson. Friday is finally here. The weather's fantastic and it's time to focus on doing some independent writing. The ally today is to write a character description of a villain. Before we start, let's do our normal routine of are you ready to go? Should have a pencil, a pen and paper. Use the pause button if you need to. So let's start with a recap. Number 1. Similes normally are used in a character description to 1. Give instructions. 2. Persuade the reader to do something. 3. Explain how to do something. Or 4. Compare one thing to another. Number 2. His whole body is covered in a skin-tight, scaly suit that is as green as. Is it 1. An emerald, 2. The sky, 3. The clouds, or 4. A sunflower? Number 3. In addition to this, she uses her incredible invisible plane to propel like a rocket into outer space. What does the simile compare her speed to? 1. Space, 2. A rocket, or 3. A plane? Number 4. He wears a helmet with horns that are as sharp as. Which option would not be suitable to complete the simile? Number 1, knives. Number 2, razors. Number 3, a tiger's tooth. Or number 4, a fluffy blanket. And the last one, the giant laughed as loud as. Which option is the most suitable to complete the simile? Number 1, a whisper. Number 2, a mouse. Number 3, thunder. Number 4, footsteps. Let's mark the recap questions or tasks. So I'll count to 5. Make sure everyone's ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, number 1, it should be number 4. Compare one thing to another. Number 2, his whole body is covered in a skin-tight, scaly suit that is as green as. It's number 1, an emerald. Number 3, in addition to this, it is compared to the speed of a rocket. Number 2. Number 4, he wears a helmet with horns that are as sharp as. So we're looking for the word that would not be suitable. So that will be number 4, a fluffy blanket. All the other things are very pointy and sharp. And number 5, the giant laughed as loud as. It's number 3, thunder. How did you do? After doing your yesterday's lesson, similes should be very straightforward, because this was just a recap on similes. So very well done if you got 5 out of 5, or 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5, you've got a bit of work to do. Similes are not that difficult to understand. So let's move on to your spelling test. You'll need to pause the video or come back and watch the video later. So you have to remember the rule for adding ed, en, er, ing. So it says spell these words using the suffixes that are appropriate. So we have prefer. Which suffix can you add to prefer? And the key here is remember the spelling rule. Forgot, listen, refer, begin, offer, submit, ripen. I'm going to give you one clue. You need to make sure, if you're doubling the letter, that the second syllable is stressed. If it's not, then you need to drop the rule and just add the suffix as normal. So you need to work out, is the second syllable stressed or unstressed? I'm going to move on. If you want to do your spelling now, remember, only the suffixes that are appropriate. So not all of them can have ed added to the end, for instance, or en, or er, or ing. Right, we have a word of the day. So Mighty Moody Hoover is a fierce, formidable supervillain and Superman's arch nemesis. So formidable means to be intimidating, daunting, terrifying. And the opposite to terrifying, intimidating, daunting, the antonym is comforting, easy, or weak. How can we put this in another sentence? They felt like it was a formidable task ahead. So formidable could mean to be very difficult as well. So a real challenge, an absolute challenge. So your task today, when you do your own independent writing, you have to remember the key features that you need to add to your description of your character who happens to be a villain. So remember, adjectives are used in the expanded noun phrases. Fronted adverbial phrases, do you know any? Well, I've got some for you at the end, so you can look at them and you can magpie them if you can use them. Adverbs, we've talked about adverbs, especially the ones that end in ly. Apostrophe for possession, you've had a BBC bite-sized activity on those, in fact 2, so you should understand apostrophe for possession. Conjunctions, coordinating, everyone can do coordinating and most can do subordinating using because and when. Similes, I know everyone can do similes, and commas in the list. I've noted this week that most people have picked up on this idea. If you have a list of things, then you would put commas after them. If you have 3 things, you would have 1 comma, and then the last 2 in the list would be joined by the conjunction and. And the words on the right hand side are the words of the week. So you should be able to magpie some of these and use them in your writing. So you've got your spelling to do. You've got to select your word of the day. Select it from the text. Write down at least 3 synonyms. Write down at least 3 antonyms. And then put that word in another sentence. Okay, so you will write a character description based on your very own villain. They will be an evil, dastardly villain who will try their very best to cause mayhem and destruction. Well, you've heard this all week. What will their wicked superpowers be? Who will they try to defeat? Will they be victorious over their superhero rival? So you know what a character description looks like. Got to have those noun phrases. Helps if you have similes. It helps if you use some adverbs. So remember, ideas do not have to be completely original. So magpie some elements of other character descriptions that you read. Your description does not have to be completely original. Okay, so what is your task? What is the name of your villain and what is their mission? So you need to think of a name. A lot of the villains tend to have a double name like Spider-Man, Green Goblin. Does yours need to? No, Superman doesn't. Batman doesn't. It's up to you. Your villain can have 3 words in their name if you really want. For instance, the Incredible Hulk. Sometimes they call him Hulk and sometimes he's called the Incredible Hulk. So you make a decision about what your villain's name is. Work out what is their mission. What costume does your villain wear? Everyone seems fine with that. It does help if you can imagine in your mind what your villain looks like and what they're wearing. That will help you to work out those 2 things above. Okay, down below, special powers. What special powers does your villain have and why? So there's a whole list there. You can come up with your own original ones. They don't have to be on this list. Once again, you can be creative and think about something completely original. They do not have to have powers that other villains or superheroes have. It can be something quite humorous. Okay, which superhero does your villain try to defeat? And what is your villain's weakness? Do they have a weakness? So, which superhero does your villain try to defeat? What is your villain's weakness? If you want to use a villain and a superhero from a film or an animation you've watched, you can. Does not have to be original. It's up to you. So remember, magpieing is a very good thing. If you copy a piece of work completely, then that's not okay. But you can magpie some ideas. So here's a planning sheet of what is the name of your villain and what is their mission. Well, the villain's name is Mighty Moody Hoover. He is the enemy of the League of Heroic Educators. His ongoing mission is to suck all the positivity out of classrooms. There you go. So there's a bit of this is a humorous approach to a villain. What costume does your villain wear? What do they look like? So we've got here, looks like an ordinary Hoover, a tube as long as a python. That's a wonderful simile. Impressive futuristic wheels. So this is the planning process. You jot down ideas that come into your head. What special powers does your villain have and why? Can inhale happiness and positivity from any classroom. Can freeze anyone that looks into his eyes. Don't look into his eyes. Which weakness does your villain have? Powers diminish instantly if he does not have a continuous supply of dust, crumbs or hairballs. He becomes as weak as a kitten, wonderful simile, and cannot suck up any positivity. If he comes into contact with water, he malfunctions. Do you know what malfunction means? It means he stops working. Which superhero does your villain try to defeat? Super Mac and all the other members of the League of Heroic Educators. So there you go, there's a simple plan. What do you do with that plan? Well, now you take the ideas in each section and you put them into sentences, thinking about your features of a character description. So we need to see, in the first sentence, we need to see a noun phrase. The Mighty Mood Hoover is a fierce, formidable supervillain and Super Mac's arch nemesis. So there you go, Mighty Moody is alliteration, and it is the name of the villain character. Fierce, formidable supervillain, that's a noun phrase. And you probably noticed Super Mac's arch nemesis. Well, Max has an apostrophe for possession because the enemy is, the character is Super Mac's enemy. Think about, what does he look like? Everybody thinks he is an ordinary Hoover. Notice there's a comma. But, so we've got a conjunction. But he is actually a living, breathing monster, exclamation mark. So don't forget punctuation. It can be very effective in your writing. Use different types of punctuation. He has a protruding tube as long as a python that he uses to inhale happiness. Wonderful simile in that sentence. I'm sure you can come up with a simile just as good. His impressive comma, futuristic wheels allow him to zoom around classrooms like a moving bullet. Right, that's another wonderful simile, like a moving bullet. Did you notice his impressive comma? That's a fronted adverbial. And then below, think about what is his mission. As an enemy of the League of Heroic Educators, comma, his sole mission is to suck all the positivity from classrooms throughout the land. Well, did you notice a comma after educators? And then his, is that a conjunction? What do you think that is? Or is that a fronted adverbial? Think about it. So use all of those ideas. You have a checklist, so you need to use them. So once again, here's your format. And on the right-hand side, we have feature and example. So as you're writing, think about these things. They don't have to appear in every sentence, but you need to have some in each paragraph. So expanded noun phrase, we saw it at the beginning of the villain story. So you can have selfish, sinister, unpopular, powerful, destructible, cowardly, bully, grotesque, greedy, super villain, skin tight, scaly suit, extremely bloodthirsty. They are all very good words to use in an expanded noun phrase because they're all adjectives describing the noun. Okay, and then you've got fronted adverbials. You've got fronted adverbials like on her wrist, too many people's surprise. When supplies run low, comma, as a member of, comma, could be all of a sudden, suddenly, without warning. Those are all fronted adverbials. Excitedly, they all help. And you've got adverbs. You know the easy adverbs are the ly, the words that end in ly. Unfortunately, amazingly, and quickly, efficiently, rapidly, incredibly, slowly, all of those are very, very good for your writing as they make your writing far more interesting and provide a better picture for the reader. So you've got apostrophes before possession. You should know those. You've had 2 sessions this week on bite size related to apostrophes for possession. Conjunctions. If you're thinking of coordinating junctions, you can use the word and, but, yet, so, not, and for. For subordinating, you can use because, that, when, if, although. So try and use at least 1 or 2, I'd say 2 subordinating conjunctions. And similes, you've done lots and lots of work on similes. Everyone knows how to do wonderful similes now. And of course, commas in the list, most people have been able to pick this up. If you've got 4 items in a list, then the first 2 words will need commas after them. And number 3 and number 4 will have and between them. So that is your task today, to do an independent piece of work. Remember, magpie does not have to be completely original. You are the author, you decide. So we have some magpie ideas here. What is the name of your villain? Well, up here is Ares, is a selfish, sinister supervillain. So you can magpie the same idea, put your character's name first, and then instead of using selfish, think of another synonym. You could use sinister, but the best thing is to try and use some of your own vocabulary. So think about synonyms. Using one from that sentence would be fine, but copying the whole lot out, not completely original. But magpieing means borrowing some ideas, not everything. So look at what you've read before. They will help you with writing your own story. I look forward to seeing your creative piece of writing about your villain. So when you're complete, email to yr3@grange.harrow.sch.uk. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a wonderful weekend. We're in for a spell of good weather. Take care, relax, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.